I started out as a engineer that took a technology course at the Kelsey here, and I looked for a job and I found one at a machine shop, and I hardly knew what a machine shop did, but I enjoyed the mechanical side of things, and so I became a draftsman there, and I worked for a company that's still existing here in town, and so I worked for them for a while, and then I decided that I would link up with a couple other fellas and we would start our own company, and that was 40 years ago, and time has gone by, and in the mining industry it's exciting. We had 2 employees, 1 machinist and 1 welder, when we started out over in Avenue C. First person we hired was a mechanical engineer. We hired that because we wanted to be different than the rest of the machine shops. We didn't want to just be a repair shop. We wanted to be able to design and develop our own equipment. And so we had 3 partners, 1 engineer, and 2 employees. So it was a struggle at the beginning, for sure. We outgrew the building in 1981 and moved over here, and this is the facility. We started with 1 building, and now I think we have 4 or 5 in this same area, and so it's grown rapidly over the 40 years. There's 2 parts to being in business, and that's your employees and your customers. Without any one of those, there's no sense being in business. And so we've developed relationships in the industry. That's why our main focus on our business is local, because we have to develop relationships. We need the customer more than he needs us. And so if we take that attitude to the mining industry, it becomes a relationship. And with that relationship, it's an ongoing business. The first engineer that we hired, Brian Gabrick, he's still with us today, and he's still enjoying. And you know, we got Tom McLeod that came from a point where he was truck driving for us, and now he runs our biggest boring mill. And then we have people like Ted Francisco that came from the Philippines that has worked 30 years here, and if you count the overtime, it may be 40 years. Just has dedicated himself to this company. And then we talk about Ken Venn starting as a truck driver over 30 years ago, and now in purchasing. These are the things that just feed a company, and this is things that I take a lot of pride in the fact that we're able to develop that relationship, so much so that these fellows are still with us. Emmanuel Adisi was the welder I talked about, 30-some years here welding. And if you look at his weld, it looks like a machine laid it. I mean, it's beautiful. And so that's why it's not hard to keep people like this around, and you try and do whatever you have to make the conditions that they want to stay. One of the ones that came to mind was the fellow that used to sweep the floors here.
My name is Clifford Sawatsky, and I worked at Prairie Machine for 23 years. Anytime I had a bike stolen, everybody would chip in to buy me a new bike. That was so cool. I thought that was awesome.
One of the electrical guys at Prairie Machine.
Always on time, always here, always wanting to do better. And those are the kind of things that make a job rewarding. He still comes back and visits.
You know, it's pretty special when you think about what Saskatchewan is made up of, and you think of the mining here in Saskatchewan and the role that this company has played for the last 40 years. We're really a very integrated part, and we're woven right into the fabric of Saskatchewan potash, and so it's pretty special to be able to celebrate 40 years of heritage.
It's a big company that's ran more, I guess Murray's quote would be a mom and pa shop. It's quite a success story in Saskatchewan.
You know, we're big enough to do the job, but small enough to respond to the customer.
The people that Murray chose to surround himself with, because if you look around here today, there's still lots of those individuals that are still here, and they're a big part of the 40-year history.
The biggest thing that stands out to me is when I first started here, coming to work on a Saturday and seeing the owner, Murray Popwell, working here as well. Like, he doesn't have to be here on a Saturday, but he was here every Saturday. That I thought was pretty cool.
And you want to come in the morning and see everybody.
3 years ago, my husband was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he died 6 months later. But the support and understanding and compassion that I had from Murray, the rest of the management team and my co-workers has been amazing, and it's really helped me through a very difficult time.
"40 years of being in business, but I look at it as 40 years of having a friendship. 40 years goes by pretty quick when you're doing something you enjoy. I've had a great lifetime at doing this, and there's always new challenges. Every time you visit a mine, there's something that needs to have a challenge, and that's what mining's about. Every foot they mine, there's different conditions, and so it takes a miner that can adjust to those conditions in order for it to work. And the same thing with the equipment that goes down underground is the conditions vary, and so your machine's got to be able to handle those conditions. And it's not that the sky's the limit. You've got some limits on how big your equipment can be and how strong it has to be. And the mining companies are big companies, and they're worldwide companies. And for them to be able to support this local business means so much. There's 120 employees here now that all depend on the mining industry, and their families depend on that mining industry. And we're just a channel in order for them to be able to do that.
Prairie Machine, it won't matter what planet we're mining on, Prairie Machine will be there.
So Murray, just one last thought. You know, after 23 years, I just want to say I'm very grateful for not getting that job at Standard Machine.
One more thing though, Murray. You've been around for 40 years, Prairie Machine. Gina and I have been married for 40 years this year too, so congratulations.
Okay, congratulations, Prairie Machine, for 40 years, Prairie Machine and parts. I didn't think it lasted this long.
Yeah, we can't wait to see what the next 40 years is going to bring. And so we're enjoying ourselves today and developing for the future.